Good morning. Welcome to our 16th annual Breakfast with the Superintendent event. Thanks for starting your morning with us to learn more about Lynchburg City Schools. We know that everyone's anxious for in-person gatherings, and believe me, we are too. In the meantime, we really appreciate you joining us once again in this virtual format. My name is Mac Frankfurt, and I'm honored to be the president of the Board of Trustees for the Lynchburg City Schools Education Foundation. I served on the school board for 9 years, and I've been a trustee of the Ed Foundation for another 10. Through all those years of service, no period of time has posed a greater challenge to the education of our children than the past 2 years. We're fortunate that COVID-19 transmission rates are falling, that flowers are blooming, and that we're back on daylight time so we can enjoy longer evenings. The future appears to be brighter as we look forward to a somewhat normal end to the school year with proms and graduations very likely to happen. Even as things are looking up for us, we cannot help but think about the children across the globe who were living lives similar to our children just a month ago, who now find themselves as refugees fleeing from their homes for safety. Despite this tremendous upheaval in their lives, many are making their education a priority. These children are finding a way to zoom into their classes, to connect with teachers and friends, to hold on to a piece of normalcy. Schools play a tremendously important role in the lives of our children, and as challenges have denied that easy access for the past 24 months, we've gained an even greater appreciation for the critical role our schools do play. I look forward to today's presentation by our Lynchburg City Schools Superintendent, Dr. Crystal Edwards, Elementary Literacy Coach Courtney Bennett, Bedford Hills Elementary School Principal Sherry Steele, and Heritage Elementary School Principal Sharon Anderson, along with Instructional Specialist Carrie Wills. They will share 3 specific programs that are being implemented to get our youngest students back on track and ensure that LCS is indeed resetting for success. Before that, I want to recognize the following people for joining us this morning: the LCS Ed Foundation Board of Trustees, members of the Lynchburg City School Board, LCS principals and directors, city and state leadership, including State Senator Mark Peake, City Councilman Bo Wright, Councilwoman Trinae Tweedy, City Manager Winter Benda, Deputy City Manager Reed Wodeka, Assistant City Manager John Hughes, Police Chief Ryan Zudema, and representatives from the Office of Economic Development and the Office of Senator Mark Warner and the Office of our House Representative Ben Klein. Finally, the Ed Foundation staff, including our director, Jody Gillette, Tracy Baker, who helps with office support, and Bianca Childress, who is the program administrator for our newly acquired Lynchburg Imagination Library. And you'll hear more about that at the end of our program. The Ed Foundation is committed to advancing excellence and equity in Lynchburg City Schools through advocacy and educational funding. Our programs provide educational opportunities for our students, teachers, and schools that go above and beyond public resources. These programs include over $80,000 in classroom innovation grant funding each year to promote innovations in teaching, over 1,100 school supply kits distributed to students who experience financial hardship to ensure that they have the resources that they need to be ready for school. We offer significant scholarships, recognize academic excellence, and secure funding for exceptional opportunities for LCS students. None of the work that we do would be possible without your support throughout the year, and for that, we are sincerely grateful. The proceeds from this breakfast also support our programs, and we want to share our appreciation for today's sponsors. Anthem, Beacon of Hope, Berglund Toyota, Centra, Delta Star, Dominion 7 Architects, Fleet Laboratories, Greater Lynchburg Community Foundation, MH Masonry, Piedmont Community Health Plan, Truist, US Pipe, and the University of Lynchburg. You'll see a list of today's program sponsors on the screen. Here they are. Please take a few moments to read the names of these sponsors. The link to today's digital program is in the chat box. So please take some time to read the ads from our sponsors and consider supporting these businesses who are such a great support to us. Today's program is called Resetting for Success. And in a few moments, we'll learn how LCS is addressing academic recovery for our youngest students. We'll have a live Q&A at the end of the keynote, so please put questions in the Q&A box and remain on the webinar through the end of this session. You'll hear brief messages now from some of our lead sponsors, followed by Dr. James Coleman, chairperson for the Lynchburg City School Board, who will share a few words and introduce Dr. Edwards. Thank you again for sharing your morning with us, and enjoy the program.
Hi, I'm Bill Bodine, president of the Greater Lynchburg Community Foundation, and we're very proud to support all the activities of the Lynchburg City Schools and Education Foundation. Thanks for the opportunity and keep up the great work.
Good morning. I am James Coleman, chair of the Lynchburg City School Board. And like Fred Rogers, I truly believe anyone who does anything to help a child is a hero or a shero. Jody Gillette and the Education Foundation, Superintendent Edwards and the entire LCS team are sheroes and heroes. I would also like to specifically mention my colleagues in board governance, the members of the Lynchburg City School Board, who have against the odds on a highly politicized stage in the midst of a storm called COVID, provided meritorious service for our school division as sheroes and heroes for kids. Thank you, Dr. Sharon Carter, Vice Chair, Mrs. Susan Morrison, Dr. Michael Nillis, Dr. Bob Brennan, Dr. Atul Gupta, Attorney Randall Trost, Dr. Kim Sinha, and Mr. Gary Harvey. So here we are once again for our annual breakfast with the superintendent, virtual style. Indeed, in this moment, our Lynchburg City Schools Education Foundation, Inc. has afforded us the opportunity to better understand the great work that LCS does to educate our children. Therefore, on this St. Patrick's Day, sit back, relax, and enjoy. And as I take a deep breath and do the same, I am reminded of these lyrics from a legendary song. Mama may have and Papa may have, but God bless the child that has his or her own. To this end, David Vitter asserts, I continue to believe that if children are given the necessary tools to succeed, they will succeed beyond their wildest dreams. Wow, how accurate this assertion remains. In fact, I personally remain awed as we do the work of public education at this hour in history, that one book, one pen, one child, and one teacher can truly change the world. As an elementary student in the 1970s, I loved to recite my ABCs and give each alphabet meaning. These alphabets helped me build my vocabulary and worldview at an early age, and the journey continues for our youngest students in 2022. So here we go. A is for academic achievement. B is for better becoming best. C is for creative champions. D is for determined dreamers. E is for extra effort For the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. F is for focus on our first through fifth. G is for greater. H is for hope. I is for inspiration. J is for joy. K is for kindergarten. L is for learning. M is for math and music. N is for now is the time. O is for overcoming. P is for pre-K and preparation. Q is for questions. R is for reading, resetting, and recovery. And S on St. Patrick's Day is for stretch and to shape successful students. T is for talented turnaround teachers. U is for up and not down. V is for victory. W is for working into winning. X is for X-ray. Y is for you and our youth. Z is for zenith, and how high, with our help, young people of LCS can fly in this life. Now to lead us into resetting for success, how LCS is addressing academic recovery for our youngest students, warmly receive the 13th Superintendent of Lynchburg City Schools, Dr. Crystal M. Edwards.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this breakfast with the superintendent. I'd like to give a special shout out and thank you to Jody Gillette, Matt Frankfurt, and the entire Education Foundation team for their tireless efforts, their hard work, and commitment to our students, our schools, and our families. We could not be here without them. And there's a lot of hard work that goes on behind the scenes. So once again, thank you for hosting this wonderful event. This time 2 years ago at this same event, I stood in front of a room of over 400 guests who were dedicated and committed to the success of our students. And today, while we may not have a packed room, we have a packed Zoom. The dedication, care, and support that you have shown our students continues to grow. And today we want to share with you some stories about our journey on resetting for success. You can't begin a journey without having a starting point. And one of the first things we did upon returning to school 5 days a week was take a deep and honest look at how this pandemic had affected our students. We boldly assessed all of our students in math and literacy and anticipated that there would be some learning loss, just like other school divisions across the Commonwealth and the nation we were prepared to address. Our data revealed that yes, some students struggled with their letter sounds, as you heard Dr. Coleman give us an alphabet lesson, and they struggled with word recognition. We expected that, we were ready for that. But our data also showed that some students lost other skills, like reading stamina and their ability to engage with text or reading passage for 5 minutes or more, something that we had to address. We expected some productive struggle with recalling math facts and remembering the rules for order of operations in mathematics, but we underestimated the degree to which lack of practicing patterns and sequences and routines of everyday school would have on our children's return and ultimately their success. And most importantly, as the pandemic raged on for 2 years, it had a significant effect on our communities and our families. But our students were like little sponges absorbing some of the stress caused by this pandemic that even we adults struggled to manage. So as we opened our doors and our minds to resetting for success, not only did we focus on providing rigorous academics, but we also nurtured and supported our children as they engaged in social activities, formed new relationships and friendships, and demonstrated empathy, patience, and understanding as we began this journey to reset for success. But the good news is, despite all of these challenges, despite the uphill battle, LCS teachers, faculty, and staff brought their A game this year and hit the ground running, hit that reset button with a level of passion and courage and determination that is worth applause. And I am so very proud to be a part of this team that did not give up in the face of adversity, this team that didn't let a quarantine stop them, this team that truly invested in every child by name and by need, no matter what that need was. This team is the team that has reset the entire educational program for our students' success. And as superintendent, it gives me great pleasure to lead this team and be a part of what is an amazing, amazing journey to reinvest in our kids and to not only have them survive this pandemic, but thrive through this pandemic. So today you are going to hear from some dynamic educators on how we enveloped our youngest pupils in an educational environment that focused on strong literacy instruction, that used every staff member every minute of the day to get the job done, and that engaged and supported our parents, our guardians, and our families as they supported their children. So let's begin this journey with a look at our elementary literacy program. And to lead us on this journey, we have the wonderful Miss Courtney Bennett, our literacy specialist, who is going to give you a look into resetting success for our youngest pupil through the lens of literacy. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Edwards. I'm going to share my PowerPoint with you. Good morning to each of you. I'm so honored to be here and excited to be here to share what's happening in Lynchburg City in the area of literacy. Literacy has always been a focus in LCS. At the elementary level, there is more time devoted daily to literacy in the classroom schedules than any other subject. While approaches to teach children to read have changed and evolved over the years, the importance of it has not. And studies have shown that learning to read is not natural to humans. It's very much a skill that must be taught and practiced. And for most of us, it's not easy. Only about 40% of students find learning to read easy and natural without intense instruction and support. As a division, we've spent many, many hours researching and looking over the current data for our students and research from experts in the field of the literacy instruction. What we noticed in the area of literacy is that our students were struggling the most in phonemic awareness, how the language sounds, phonics, the patterns in which the letters make words, and putting it all together to read and spell words. This in turn caused most students to struggle with reading and writing. Many of our teachers in LCS have been trained in Orton-Gillingham strategies to help the students in phonics and phonemic awareness. However, we still needed a consistent program that all teachers could deliver to our students. Because of this, we looked for a program that would support teachers in this area and help our students in these specific skills. And so this is what brought us this year to the adoption of the Wilson Language Program of Foundations in Just Words. This year, we've begun using this program in grades pre-K through 5 in every classroom. The students are engaged for 30 to 45 minutes of daily phonics instruction. This instruction and practice is very structured, it's systematic and hands-on to learning letters, letter patterns, and how to put it all together. They do this through very engaging lessons where the teacher is demonstrating a skill and the students are participating by using magnetic letter tiles, their body movements. They also use their own markers and wipe-off boards and individual practice. The teachers are able to instruct the students on the skills in a way that it reaches the needs of all learners in the classroom. And by having the students work on the same skill, using examples that meet the levels that each students need to understand and practice the new concept. All of these practices are based on research and practices that are promoted by the experts. Learning to read is very much like working a puzzle. If you don't have all of the correct pieces, then your puzzle will have holes in the picture. Foundations and Just Words cover all the pieces of the reading puzzle that will ensure that our students are successful in gaining the knowledge that they need to do well in reading and in writing, which in turn will help them to be successful in all other areas of their academic learning and in life. In LCS, all of our students have received this instruction in their classrooms by their teacher in a whole group setting. This program also allows the teachers to provide students with small group instruction based on their assessment results that are given to them. Our students and teachers are supported by the literacy specialists in the schools as needed on the skills that are being instructed. While this program is not the only system that our students are instructed in during their literacy block of the day, it does, however, provide the students with the foundation that they need to be successful in other skills in literacy. It is our building block for helping the students become a reader. While grades pre-K through 4 are working in foundations, our oldest elementary learners in 5th grade are working in Just Words, which supports them in many of the same ways that Foundations does. But it also helps to introduce them to the more complex skills that they will need to continue their journey of reading skills in the area and in the meaning of words and word study. In 7 short months, our students and teachers have been working with these programs, and we've seen and heard many, many success stories. Like any new program, we've had our bumps and our bruises along the way, learning the best way to implement the program. But the students' growth that is being showed far outweighs all those bumps and bruises. The data from the assessments that are given are showing that there is growth at every grade level. Gaps that were there from missed learning are being filled in. Every student in the division is being taught the same information in each school, and the students are engaged and enthusiastic about learning to read. Join me now to see what administrators, teachers, and students have to say about this new journey in literacy.
The past year and a half has been rough on everybody, but for education, we've seen the gaps grow in reading for the children.
Obviously, as our kids were coming back to us, a lot of learning gaps, a lot of needs.
We're hoping with this new program that we're working with that is going to fill in some of those phonics gaps, because that's where we feel that the students are lacking the most. So Foundations and Just Words are both very multisensory and very consistent throughout their levels. It is a phonics-based systematic program that is helping our students to learn about the letters, the letter sounds, and word patterns. And that systematic approach is what's being successful for our students.
Literacy had been kind of a collection of things. It hadn't been this truly defined system and approach to how it was going to go. This program, as we initiated it and started it in our buildings, has been very intentional.
At the pre-K level, Foundations allows us to introduce the letter to the children. They see the visual representation of the letter. We connect it to the sound that it makes. We try to put materials in the children's hands to actually build the letters or to do some sort of association so that they can connect it as a meaningful experience.
Foundations is helpful in the sense of it's giving them that phonics foundation, which so many of them were in the middle of building or never fully built before COVID and everything hit. So for my students anyways, it's definitely needed. Yeah, it's kind of helping close in some of that learning loss.
It allows an opportunity every day. So as the teachers are teaching Foundations, they can see exactly what their students are doing right there and then and there. They can pull their small groups, and if they need remediation, they can do that.
Just Words seems to be the culmination for 5th grade for the Foundations program. And so I'm really excited for the years ahead as I get 4th graders and 3rd graders who've had this program for a year or two. They're gonna settle in with this and be comfortable with it. And I think that's part of one of the cornerstones of learning is you're comfortable with what you're doing. especially as a student, and also for teachers. As teachers use this year after year, they'll learn that what to expect from students and how to adapt it.
We are seeing children being very excited about letters. When they spot them in the hallway or on a door or a sign, they're very quick to often connect those letters to what we've learned in the classroom.
I don't think I've ever seen kids as excited about a program. It's just such a good foundation. I can't wait to see what the upper grades look like in a year or so.
The students are engaged, the students like the structure of the program. The teachers have really embraced it and have enjoyed it.
I love the fact that this program, coming from 3rd and 4th on into 5th grade, will enable students to take steps, even if they are behind, to come up to the same level as their peers.
Looking at some of our data from first quarter, some kids have grown a grade level, half a grade level already. And that's a testament to two things. One, how hard the teachers are working, because they get all the credit for that. But two, how hard the kids are working and how hard the parents are working to support the kids and how hard they're working. So it's been a collective effort, but at the same time, we are seeing some immediate benefits from the implementation of this.
So thank you, Ms. Bennett, for sharing that wonderful program with us. I've seen that video a couple times, and every time I watch it, it just brings a smile to my face. And I hope you didn't miss that in the middle of that video, we also talked about what our pre-K students are doing. So this rigorous literacy program goes all the way down to our youngest pupils, and it is just a fantastic thing to see in action, to see that it's multi-sensory. You don't think about that when you think about literacy, but that's what makes it great and special. And then our teachers have embraced this. Imagine being a teacher in the middle of a pandemic with quarantines and having to learn a new program. It could be a very stressful thing, but our teachers have so much love and commitment for our students. Our support staff are in there every step of the way, that they embraced this and they went running with it. And what you saw in that video was the fruits of their labor. So I look forward to our continued success. But if we're really committed to eradicating learning loss and the ill effects of this pandemic, we had to be very intentional with every minute of the day. And we had to look at how everyone in the building could contribute to the success of our students. And Principal Sherry Steele from Bedford Hills, she's going to share with you how she and her amazing staff came together, brainstormed, used all their creative juices to figure out how to use every minute of every day to truly focus on every child by name and by need. Mrs. Steele.
Good morning, and thank you, Dr. Edwards. And building off everything that you've heard so far in the Foundations and Just Word programs, in facing this new year and thinking about our mission of every child by name and by need to graduation, we knew that education was impacted by the pandemic. And we embraced this mission with a new tenacity and a new urgency. And looking at our students coming back, we knew our highest priority was our second graders. These students missed a lot of foundational skills as they left in the spring of kindergarten, and they had interruptions in their learning in their first grade year. So thinking hard and working as a team, as Huskies do, we got together and created a very strategic process in aligning our vision with all of our human resources. We trained together. Many of our staff were trained in Orton Gillingham, and we did additional training and modeling with our instructional assistants. And we developed a plan how we could every day look at how our students were doing and provide them the support and intervention they need. We call it meeting them where they are and helping them grow. No matter where they are, we're going to move them along as quickly as possible to close those gaps and help all of our students to be successful. So our Scholars Program is 67 of our first through third graders, and they receive an hour of intense instruction every day. And they go to 4 different stations, and they are supported by what we call our professors for our scholars. And another very important piece of this is that we really focus on growth mindset, because we know that when students might be feeling behind or they might be discouraged or getting lost with the pace of the class, we know that oftentimes they get discouraged, and we want them to love learning, that we want them to be successful, and we want to give them the strategies to do so. We do not give up, and we use a lot of our growth-minded phrases like we can do hard things. And so we continue to encourage each other. And the students go to Scholars with the 4 different stations, and every day our Scholars team plans. They talk about, how did yesterday go? How did those students do? What do we need to do today and tomorrow and a week and a month from now? And we're always planning and working together to give our students our very best. And while the students are in the Scholars Program, the classroom teacher is also able to provide more enrichment and intervention for the students who are in the classrooms and help those students who are excelling to do well and continue to grow and learn as they want to and get excited about learning too. So we say it's the Husky way, and we are all working together and pulling together for the best of our students. And we also meet with our professional learning communities, and we make sure that everything that we're doing in Scholars, we're communicating back to the classroom teacher. So that alignment is very tight to make sure that we are utilizing every minute we have of our learning time and making sure our students are making as much progress as possible. We want to give them the confidence to be successful every step of the way. And we also had a Scholars Night with all of our families in the Scholars Program. We had a free pizza dinner. We were also able to model and show them the strategies that we use. And every family went home with a bag full of Orton Gillingham materials that they can learn and use with their students at home. And the children were so excited to share with their families everything that they've been doing in the Scholars Program. So now I am honored to be able to share with you a little video about our scholars. And most important, I want you to hear from the children and how they are learning and growing.
I like Scholars because you learn how to read.
I like Scholars because we play games and learn.
I like Scholars because we go to different stations.
Because it's fun.
Because we have the best teachers.
I like Scholars because it helps us learn more.
Because we learn, write, and read.
Because we have fun and the teachers are nice.
I love it because we always write and we listen because we are the scholars.
So the scholars receive 1 hour of very data-driven, targeted instruction, learning experiences with what we call our professors. And they have 4 groups that they rotate through, working on those specific literacy skills.
The first station is introducing the new concept for the day, and then teacher station 2 is usually dictation or review skill. Teacher station 3 is applying it to literature, so decodable text, reading short poems, reading short passages, and then teacher station 4 is either letter formation or teaching red words.
So the selection process took into account some of the data from our PALS testing at the beginning of the school year, where we're testing the students' reading levels. We also took data from the IXL scores and took that into account before we decided who participated in Scholars. And then even as the year goes on, we've continued to look at that data. So some of the students have exited the program because of the data has been so wonderfully improved.
So while the scholars are in their sessions, the students that are in the classroom are also getting differentiated learning with their classroom teachers. So it's really giving children the individual and small group attention that they need with the support of that adult there to guide that learning. In creating these scholars, we were just trying to look at how we could take our students in their specific needs and all of our support staff, special education, IAs, everyone who was available, and really try to look at our schedule and how we were doing things and say, how can we do it more efficiently, more data-driven, more student-specific, and being able to monitor the outcomes so we can daily plan for success for each of our students.
I've really seen a huge growth in those scholars. I've been so excited to see that. It has been so beneficial for them. They have had intense teaching in this classroom from multiple very skilled instructors who are working with them. And I've really seen a change in the classroom. I've seen the benefits of that in the classroom.
I've noticed in my class, those students that have been going to Scholars are starting to build those skills that they were missing. They're able to decode and work through, maybe not grade level work quite yet, but they're moving in that direction. So I'm starting to see them be able to do more and more independently. They're able to understand directions and put pen to paper and get that work done.
We've had kids show 4 reading levels of growth based on PALS. We've had kids in Scholars go from not meeting the benchmark in the fall to meeting the benchmark in mid-year, which is amazing.
I'm able to give them simpler text to read, and they can sit and they can read it on their own. I've also seen it in their writing. This right here would have been our word of the day, and as you can see down here, the letters run on. We don't have finger spacing. A lot of these where you do see a word, blend, food, watch, are words that are around our room on the walls that would have been copied. Since the Scholar program has started, now they're able to understand my sentence needs a capital letter. I need to have punctuation at the end. It's a huge improvement since August.
It's really just all working together to meet kids where they are and help them grow, and to make sure that everyone is maximizing their learning time that we have with them here at Bedford Hills.
We are the scholars! We are the scholars! Mighty, mighty scholars! The mighty, mighty scholars! Everywhere we go! Everywhere we go! People want to know! People want to know! Who we are! Who we are! So we tell them! So we tell them! We are the scholars! We are the scholars! The mighty, mighty scholars! The mighty, mighty scholars!
So you just got to see my mighty, mighty scholars. And if you could just hear the enthusiasm in those children's voices as they shouted out that they are the scholars. Isn't that what we want for our kids? I mean, as we talk about learning loss, we need to shift our thinking. That video talked about learning gain, and not only for the students who may be a grade level behind, a couple months behind, but what I hope you didn't miss was, well, what about the students who didn't experience learning loss? What are we doing for them? And when I say every minute, every staff member, what's going on at Bedford Hills is we are doing that dichotomous approach. We're looking at the students who experience learning loss and making sure they have learning gain. But for those who didn't, how do we enrich? How do we provide extra opportunities to stretch their thinking? Because it's important that they grow too. And I'm so proud and so pleased with the Bedford Hills staff, my professors, and my scholars. So great job, Bedford Hills, for making it happen. And we support you, and we're going to continue to do those wonderful things. Now, I've told you I've had a talented staff. You've seen my talented staff that's on site. But we also have a talented staff that's off site. And by that, I mean our parents, our guardians, and our families. Children thrive when families learn together. And at Heritage Elementary School, they found the perfect recipe for resetting for success. You know, our mission, our motto is every child by name, by need, to graduation and beyond. And after you watch this video from Heritage and you listen to Ms. Sharon Anderson, principal of Heritage Elementary School, and Ms. Carrie Wills, the instructional coach, you'll want to say every child and their family by name, by need, to graduation, because we do have family graduation. So Ms. Wills and Mrs. Anderson are here to share with you their secret sauce at Heritage Elementary School for family success.
Great morning, everyone. First, I would like to thank Dr. Edwards, Ms. Gillette, and the Lynchburg City Schools Education Foundation Board for this great opportunity for us to share our FLASH program. FLASH stands for Families Learning at School and Home. Our mission statement is to create and sustain a highly effective parental engagement program that promotes student achievement by empowering and strengthening the family connection with the school through social, emotional, and academic support, which are essential components for children to thrive today, tomorrow, and beyond. Our goals for the program are to promote and enhance positive connections between school and home, provide emotional and academic support for our parents, provide parents with uninterrupted instructional training in math and reading to enhance learning at home, provide community connections and resources, provide take-home instructional materials, and provide a fun and hands-on learning environment for students with certified teachers. As a part of the program, we administered a pre and post survey to our parents. As you can see, at the beginning of the program, our parents rated several areas as most concerning, indicated by the color red. At the conclusion of the program, those concerns were no longer rated most concerning, as indicated by the colors yellow and green. So improvement was noted. At this time, Mrs. Carrie Wills, our 21st Century Coordinator and and lead coach, will share with you the schedule and structure for our FLASH program. Ms. Wills, take it over.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. So we're going to just walk through what a daily schedule would look like for our FLASH. So we have our arrival time. We do provide transportation for those families who request transportation because we want to be inclusive with all of our families and make sure they have the opportunity to participate no matter what. We open up with our FLASH family flag. Everyone creates a flag. We all gather around to greet our students and go over the schedule. And we have a special FLASH chant that we like to sing before we have our breakfast together. And right now we are going to briefly watch what the chant looks like.
Are you ready? Yeah. Are you ready? Yeah.
All right, so after we finish that takes about 5 minutes. Then we have breakfast together, and our staff serves our family, and it's family style. So after we serve, we sit with our families and we eat breakfast together. Then we break off into groups. So the students have a group that they go with certified teachers for reading and math instruction, but our parents also have a group as well. So while our students are engaging in enriching reading and math skills for 75 minutes, we also provide our parents initially with 30 minutes of instructional or behavioral specialists guiding them through how they can build their at-home learning capacity and also provide positive reinforcement for their children. Then we also have a special component where the parents join a certified counselor to participate in what we like to call parent time. The counselor facilitates and builds connections between home and school with the parents. Then we come back together for our closure, and this is about 10 minutes. So we like to call it the roundup time, where we let the students and the families get prizes. And then we have our closure song, which is our Heritage Pride chant, being prepared and prepared, respectful, in control, determined, and engaged, because that's our goal here at Heritage. Also, if you participate in at least 3 of the 5 consecutive Saturday sessions, you get to graduate. So our families who had attended 3 of the 5 flash sessions got to graduate. They received framed affirmations and also a graduation certificate, which is a very exciting time. So currently we are in the middle of our spring session. That was our fall session. We're in the middle of our spring session. We have 8 registered families, and they are attending regularly. So our attendance is up 200%, and we are thriving. And I feel like that this program truly does align with Lynchburg City Schools' mission statement, which is every child by name and by need to graduation and beyond, because we're also supporting our community and family as well.
So I had the opportunity to attend a flash graduation, and oh my goodness, the energy and excitement in the room from everybody. And as a superintendent engaging with families, the entire families, when I tell you they had the toddlers there, seeing your future students excited about learning, participating with their siblings and cousins and family members and parents, it was just such a great experience. And I salute Heritage and all of the staff, transportation. When we rolled up in the buses, I was pleased that, you know what, transportation shouldn't be a barrier for success. So thank you to our transportation department who worked with the schools to make sure that we could get families there. Thank you to our sponsors who provided breakfast. There's nothing like having a meal and talking about education. So I'm really, really excited about that program. I support HES as their enrollment has increased 200%. We're going to make that 1,000% more and continue growing and developing. So I hope you're thinking what I'm thinking right now. And that is simply, wow. You had a small peek into what makes LCS so special. And it's the people who care so deeply about the success of our children. You saw it with the literacy instruction through foundations and just words. You saw it with our Scholars Program and our enrichment programs that are going on. You heard it in our kids' voices as they sang and enjoyed and chanted and expressed how they felt about the program. You saw it in our families who have come together, who have made education for their children a priority in their lives and surrounded their family around that priority. You heard our staff mention teachers, support staff, 21st century after school programming. We've got custodians and transportation and counselors and countless individuals who are all working together for our children. I am so proud of our faculty and staff for their willingness to reflect and embrace some new programs and new practices this year to help our children. We continue to see our students progress, and we look forward to their continued growth and development in Lynchburg City Schools as we focus on every child and their families by name, by need, to graduation and beyond. I'd like to thank you for joining us today, and I wish everyone a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Thursday. We're going to shift into Q&A. I'm going to turn it back over to Miss Jody Gillette to kind of lead us into the next steps.
Wonderful. Well, good morning, everybody. When we held this virtual breakfast last year, I never thought that we would have to go 2 years without seeing each other. I'm so glad that to at least have this opportunity to connect with you today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jody Gillette, the director of the Lynchburg City Schools Education Foundation, and I hope that you enjoyed this morning's program and found it to be informative. Thank you to today's speakers for your presentation, but even more importantly, for the work that you have done over the course of 2 very difficult years to identify challenges, brainstorm and research solutions, and implement exceptional reading, effective tutoring, and engaging family development programs. The Wilson Language Series is clearly a pillar of the curriculum, while the scaffolding of embedded tutoring and family engagement is helping to ensure student success. We invite our audience to type any questions that they might like to ask regarding what's been shared today into the Q&A box if you can, not the chat, but the Q&A, and we'll answer as many questions as we can get to in just a few minutes. Thank you to Austin Journey, Scott Kirkwood, and Walt Ford from the LCS Community Relations Office for helping to develop and ensure the success of today's event. I can never say thank you enough to my tireless teammate, Tracy Baker, as well as to the dedicated Ed Foundation Board of Trustees. The Ed Foundation works to advance excellence and equity in the Lynchburg City Schools through advocacy and educational funding. We work to provide an added plus to our school division. Proceeds from this event allow us to address targeted student and teacher needs as opportunities or challenges arise. In addition to the ongoing programs that Mac summarized at the start of this program, we have secured significant long-term funding for some very special programs, including 3 years of robust environmental education in partnership with the James River Association from the Appalachian Power Foundation, 5 years of therapeutic art classes at Fort Hill Community School, entrepreneurial and workforce development skill building for students at the Empowerment Academy, thanks to the Department of Economic Development, a teacher talent recruitment incentive for 2 new LCS teachers each year for 5 years from the Ainsley family to help LCS address the national teacher shortage. Significant career tech scholarships to LCS students supported by the Al Strubans Foundation, and a $30,000 LCS Excellence in Science Scholarship supported by BWXT, DTE Energy Foundation, Framatome, Sandy and Sharon Ainsley, David and Judy Franz, and Charlie and Mary Jane Pryor. We just awarded the 4th of 5 scholarship commitments at the beginning of this month. So if anybody wants to jump in to be part of the future of this scholarship or other unique opportunities, please be sure to let me know. I know you've received plenty of emails from me lately, so you know where to find me. We also have some big news at the Ed Foundation. Dolly Parton's Imagination Library is an internationally celebrated book gifting program that delivers one book each month to registered children from birth to 5 years who live in communities with a local host. The Aspire Foundation launched this program in Lynchburg in 2019 and significantly built the funding and the registrations each year. When the Aspire Foundation left Lynchburg, they wanted to leave the funding that they raised for Lynchburg's children in our community. And we are very proud to announce that as of January 1st, the Lynchburg City Schools Education Foundation is the new host for the Lynchburg Imagination Library. Bianca Childress is the new Lynchburg Imagine Library Program Administrator, and I hope that you will join me in welcoming her to the LCS Ed Foundation team. Bianca has hit the ground running as we work to reach more children and introduce additional wraparound programs to maximize the impact of this literacy and school readiness initiative. To register a child, go to the link that I have shared in the chat, and more information will be coming soon. As a final reminder, the link to today's digital schedule is in the chat box, so please link on it and review the list of all of today's sponsors whose names and ads are listed, with one more thank you to them and a final shout out to our lead sponsors, Anthem, Beacon of Hope Lynchburg, Berglund Toyota, Centra, Delta Star, Dominion 7 Architects, Fleet Laboratories, the Greater Lynchburg Community Foundation, MH Masonry, Piedmont Community Health Plan, Truist, US Pipe, and the University of Lynchburg. Don't hesitate to click on the donate link in the chat box if you want to support any of the work that we do. Before we go to our Q&A, I do want to give one shout out to someone else who was sharing the morning with us, and that's Heritage High School graduate Leland Melvin, who many of you also know is our local hometown hero, as he has been is an astronaut, and we are thrilled that he is sharing our time this morning. And we also have 2 quick videos for you from 2 of our best collaborators, one from the University of Lynchburg and the other from Beacon of Hope, who will be sharing some information about their upcoming forum on the power of education to transform lives. And I do hope to see you there on March 25th. So we'll go to those videos and then to our Q&A.
Hello, I'm Alison Morrison-Shetler, President of the University of Lynchburg. I am so proud of the university's long partnership with the Lynchburg City Schools, where so many of our graduates work on behalf of the young people of our great city. I look forward to working with educators here for many years to come. It's a great day to be a Hornet.
For nearly a decade, Lynchburg Beacon of Hope has said, "We love you, LCS." Please join us for the first TED Talk series in Lynchburg, HopeX, the power of education to transform lives. March 25th, www.hopextalk.org.
We know we were at time and we don't want to hold people, so please feel free to drop off if you want to, but Dr. Edwards has graciously agreed to do some Q&A. I see that there are some questions in the chat box, and so we're going to turn a few minutes back over to Dr. Edwards to answer some questions.
Absolutely, and I'm going to rely on my partner, Miss Ethel Reeves, who is the Director of Equity and Community Relations for Lynchburg City Schools, to moderate those questions.
Great morning, everyone. Ms. Gillette, awesome. Another celebration, another great breakfast. Thank you for always hosting such a great event. There are questions, and so we want to get started with those. First and foremost, are there opportunities at each school that provide instructional supports for students that may be struggling academically?
Absolutely. And I started by saying I gave you a small peek into the window of what are some of the things that we're doing, but there's so much more that is going on in each and every school, not just our elementary schools, but our secondary schools as well. And if you have a child in one of LCS schools, I urge you to contact your child's teacher, your child's principal, to learn about the wonderful programs that are going on in all of our schools to support our students.
Awesome. Are these programs only available to students who need help getting back up to grade level, or can they also be used to help grade level performers excel even further?
Absolutely. And I think Mrs. Steele kind of touched on that a little bit in her scholars program. And while our students who are working to get back up on grade level, simultaneously, teachers are working with students who are on or above grade level and providing them with challenging and rigorous materials to help them excel as well. And again, that's just one small highlight of what's going on in one of our schools. And we have similar things that are going on in all of our schools, including our secondary schools.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing with us information about these interesting techniques to improve literacy. In a world that is likely to continue involve hybrid learning, how can these tools be modified to work online as well as in person?
Absolutely. And that's one thing that the pandemic has taught us is virtual learning. We were thrown into it quick, fast, and in a hurry, but we have embraced it and we're using it right now to conduct this wonderful program. And our teachers continue to use virtual learning options as a way to reach out to families, as a way to provide tutoring and enrichment and expose students to different content, different materials. We also have in many of our classrooms the ability to project live with ConfTel units. We've used that for meetings, we've used that for teaching, and we're moving in that direction. And we have a virtual academy for Lynchburg City School students, which started out as being something that we would do in response to the pandemic. But what we're learning is that for some of our students, learning virtually using this hybrid approach or this virtual approach really works for them. And we want to continue to support them as well. So some of our tutoring programs are done virtually as well as in person. We recognize the value of having a blended educational approach.
Awesome. There are some questions about just the frustrations that students may be experiencing, how the pandemic, of course, we know has affected the social emotional status of our students. What supports does LCS have for students that are feeling the stress of social emotional burdens brought on by the pandemic and other factors?
Great question. And Ms. Reeves, you and I have been heavily involved in this of late. We have seen some differences in behaviors and children being able to get back into that social world that we had pre-pandemic. And our staff is working diligently with students to sort of refocus on those skills necessary. I touched on that a little bit at the beginning of the pandemic because it wasn't something, we were so focused on reading and math, that social emotional learning and social integration and dealing with conflict resolution and self-regulation have also become things that our school counselors are working with. We have outside partners working with our children. You heard Mrs. Anderson talk about kids having their session, parents having their session, so that we can work with parents to also work with their students on how we can express ourselves and deal with some of the stressors that the pandemic has brought on. There are our school counselors as well as our behavior coaches and our staff, and even in our preschool, our Hutchinson Learning Center, our staff has been trained in trauma-informed practices and how to really work with children to work through some of the things that they're going through so that it doesn't impede their learning. And our staff remains aware that, you know what, if we don't address those basic needs that children are feeling, we're not going to get to the academics. And then most importantly, talk to children. Ms. Reeves and I have gone out along with Director Brown, have gone to schools and asked kids. Kids want to help. They have solutions. We just talked to a young lady who gave us all kinds of information about how we can make this more inspirational and encouraging. And sometimes just off the bus, that smile, now that, you know, we can actually pull those masks down or not have them at all and smile at children and encourage them. So to the degree that we want to work with our students who also want to support each other, we are there to do that.
Awesome. Today's theme focused on literacy. Are there any similar initiatives available that may impact mathematics?
Yes. When we were very purposeful this year, focusing on literacy. But like I said at the beginning of the program, we took a hard look at our data, and we actually were expecting literacy to be the thing that was probably the most affected by the pandemic, especially for our first and second graders who missed a lot of that direct instruction in reading in the early years. But what the data actually revealed when we looked at it was some deficiencies in math, particularly at the upper grade levels and in middle school going forward. So yes, there has been a lot of work done in helping kids address some learning loss in math and building some of those foundational skills in math and taking the same approach that we have in reading, making it more tactile, more hands-on, getting the kids not only involved in terms of paper and pencil, but having a minds-on, hands-on approach to math to build those foundational skills so that kids can be successful.
Awesome. Dr. Edwards, one last question. What can the community do to help us move forward?
Absolutely. Well, you've already started with programs like this. Your support of the Imagination Library is another investment. Your support in our children. I know that we're about to, now that we're moving hopefully past this pandemic, we're opening our schools. I know our principals have had some things that they are in need of volunteers for. We're going to start mentoring children. It's going to take all of us. If you looked at the Flash program, the value of schools, family, and community working together to really move the needle for Lynchburg City Schools. So we need you. We need you invested in our children. We appreciate you when you come in and you read to our kids. We appreciate you when you clap them in on the first day of school. We appreciate the support for those of you who donate socks, underwear, coats, everything that you do. Those of you who come and provide food bags for our children, we appreciate you. Those who come at lunchtime and just want to buddy read, we appreciate you as well. And those of you who just want to lend a helping hand and just say, you know what, I was a retired teacher, I'm just going to come volunteer and give my services. Our lunch monitors, recess, playground, all of that makes a difference in a child's life. We need your help. Y'all, Lynchburg City Schools is hiring. So if you know someone, we are having a hiring fair on March 25th. We need more good people like the people you saw today who are committed to helping our children. So community, we are here. We are open. We are ready for business as usual. Let's get back to that Lynchburg City community support that we had before the pandemic caused us to close our doors. So let's open it up because kids deserve it.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards. Jody, thank you for the opportunity. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards and Ms. Reeves for the Q&A. Thank you to our panelists and thank you to everybody for participating today. Please like and follow us on social media. Thank you for joining us for all of the ways that you invest in LCS and the Ed Foundation. And we want to thank them as they educate our children and reset for success. Have a fabulous day. Take care.